We're back!
Welcome back.
It's episode 11 of Sticks and Stones.
I'm Julia.
And I'm Sue.
We're glad you're here today.
Yes. Today on Sticks and Stones, our DIY project is learning to embroider. We'll also see the lunchbox that Sue dyed and some projects that Julia finished up just in time for new babies and maybe even Christmas on the way. Join us! So it's been a while.
It has.
I went on vacation to Vermont. I drove all the way to Vermont from Pennsylvania to meet a Sticks and Stones fan.
Really?
Yes. Hi, Nancy. Hi,
Wow.
Jess. Yeah. So we were on vacation, and Nancy is a regular there, and where we go on vacation, and she was gonna teach me kumihimo, which is like the Japanese braiding.
Okay.
But we never got to that. We instead did lots of other things. So yeah, we did resin. Remember the resin that I've showed you before?
Yes.
We did these necklaces, and we stay on an island on a lake, and we find lots of sea glass.
Oh,
and so we
cool.
made these pendants using the resin, and when you put it on the sea glass, because it's translucent, it looks like stained glass.
They're beautiful.
And the white disappears, and that one I used seashells too.
That's really
From
neat.
the lake. So it's a nice little momentum of our time there. And the other thing that we did there was we made artist trading cards. You know what those are?
I think so.
They're just little cards that are this big, and you can do something about yourself, or we were doing something about where we were vacationing, and they have like a whole big folder of different people who come who made them.
So like the cabin or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing we did was spoon bugs. Spoon bugs. This was actually in the July-August issue of Family Fun magazine.
Okay.
It's where I got the idea. And you just mix plaster of Paris. You put it in a plastic spoon. You let it dry, and you pop it out. And then the kids can.
That's fun.
They colored these with markers, and they had the best time with them.
That's really fun.
I wish I had done it earlier in the trip, because they had spoon bug races down the slide.
That's really
the
cool.
spoon bugs were negotiating properties. They had schools and hotels, and like,
oh my goodness,
they
that
were
was
just
elaborate.
going crazy with
That's
these
neat.
little tiny. Of course, every once in a while one would break,
Yeah.
and then there would be tears. And I actually added feet with stones, but some of them came off.
Oh gosh,
Actually,
that's really cute.
one of them came off, so then the kids asked me to do surgery, so they opened a hospital.
These are creative children.
I know,
really
exactly. Give them a spoon and some plaster of Paris.
Yeah.
But they had so much fun, and it's so simple. Just plaster of Paris, and you just stick it in the spoon, and then it makes it really nice and smooth. And I just use regular tiny little plastic spoons. I guess you could get bigger ones if you used a bigger spoon.
I think I know what we're doing this weekend.
Spoon bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's one of those things that if you tried really hard, they would probably be like, yeah, I don't want to do this. This is not fun. But I made them, and I said, here, you guys can color them.
Yeah.
And they went to town.
That's fun.
And had the best time.
That's very fun.
So, yeah. So a couple other things that I did, too, were I used our skills from our last podcast to dye my daughter's lunchbox. Actually,
Very nice.
She did it. She colored on with the cake dye from Wilton, and we put this in boiling water. It was half boiling water, half vinegar.
Okay.
And I didn't really have the thing big enough to put it in, so I put it in my cake pan, and appropriate for cake dye. And so I put it in there with the half water, half vinegar. I put the top on and then wrapped it in towel.
Okay.
When it cooled, I dumped that out, and I put more boiling water and more dye and put it upside down. And so I still want to run it through the washing machine to get out any last minute dye, so that she doesn't have dye on her backpack or her lunch.
What
But
color was it to start?
it was pink.
Pink. Wow,
Yeah.
that really covered it really well.
Yeah, so it turned
Nice.
out really nice.
You know what I like? I like that the butterfly is color coordinating with it. It looks like it was meant to be.
I know. Well, the
including-
butterfly didn't dye. She
Okay.
didn't really put a lot on, but she tried putting green on the corners, and the color came out of the butterfly, which is embroidered on. But yeah. So
That turned out really nice.
and I don't think LLB makes this color of backpack,
not.
you know. think they do it like a lighter blue.
That's neat though. It's very personalized.
Yeah.
She's got to be proud of herself.
Yeah, she's very excited about it. She was really psyched to see that it was still intact because we weren't sure, like, a lot of the dye comes out when you rinse it, so.
Or is the vinegar going to eat the stitching away?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You never know. Very
So,
nice.
I did that, and I also made this hatband. It's made from horsehair, which is my specialty, and so I did a herringbone stitch on the top and the bottom, and then I did a 4-strand braid in the middle, and finished it off with tassels that are hitched and some leather.
Very nice. I really like that braid.
Thank you.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's somebody asked me to make it for them, and I haven't given it to yet, and I want to keep it.
In the meantime, you can enjoy it a little.
That's right.
I like that. It's a nice contrast on your hat too.
Thanks.
It shows
And then I
it
might
very
have to keep it and make them a different one.
You have enough horsehair to do that?
Yes. Yeah, I got plenty of horsehair.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of these days you'll have to show us how to braid. I would like to try to braid with the horsehair. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a little different. So what have you been doing?
Well, apparently I did a whole lot. I have a giant stack of stuff to show you. I've been knitting a lot, and I was kind of surprised when I put it all together just how much I had accomplished this month. So I got a lot to show you. I've got a couple little baby hats that I made, a little owl and a little cabled hat with a circle on the top.
I like the owl. He's so cute.
Yeah, thanks.
And you did embroidery.
There
which
is.
we're going to talk about today.
Every little bit of embroidery that I know how to do is right there.
Well, maybe you'll learn how to do more.
I would like that. I think it's kind of fun to be able to put these things on. It just adds another dimension to the hat. So, and I made a bigger hat to send off to ChemoCaps.
And who's that through?
This one, I just picked a charity. Every once in a
Okay.
while I like to give something back, and so this is just a little cotton hat I threw together. I finished my yarn that I spun. I was showing you guys last time. This is actually, I ended up doing a 3-ply, a Navajo ply, which is like a chain plying. Instead of spinning the 2 strands together, you spin one on itself. So I really like the way it turned out.
Yeah, I like how it's kind of, it looks like big stripes of color.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this is going to work when I actually knit something with it. I'm really excited. It's not too overspun. It actually is pretty good. And then I'll show you guys this up close. But this was my original 2-ply that I started, and I just thought it was kind of cool. I wanted to show you the difference between the 2-ply and the 3-ply. How very, very different they look. Like this is almost watercolor modeled to me, and it's a lot less spun and it's a lot less even. And then there's this one that looks a lot more purposeful and striped instead of quite so modeled. I'll have to do a close-up.
This one seems to have a lot more of the beigey tan color in it too.
Yeah.
It's in every one, where this, it kind of came out and you get different colors rather than...
Right, because with that one I had a strand of green and a strand of beige, and so they kind of cancel each other out. Whereas with this one I was able to overlap the same color on itself. So...
Nice.
But I really love the colors. This is Forbidden Woolery is the name of the girl who dyed it. So there's that, and then I finished up with the cowl, the Milanese Loop that I showed you guys a while back.
Nice.
Probably from April, I think I started this, so I'm kind of happy I got this done in time for fall.
Little inspiring to us who have projects hanging out.
Yeah, I have too many projects hanging out, so you'll be hopefully seeing a lot more of those lately. And then I made a little baby blanket too.
It's really cute. That's nice colors.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to try to do some embroidery on this too,
Oh.
to make it more girly. And my final project and my sob story for the week. I'll tell you guys about this. This is my sweater that I've been working on so hard.
This is the one that matches the gloves you gave
Yes,
me, right?
exactly.
Yeah, so you meant my
I
sweater.
might let you borrow it. I might let you borrow it. You never know. But no, I was 2 rows away from finishing this last week on Tuesday. I had it all set out. I had the band around the bottom, and I laid it down just to check to make sure that I didn't have any mistakes. And here's what I found. This is how it is supposed to be. I have since fixed it. So this is how it's supposed to be. Just to, looks like a sweater. Well, what I had done was when I added the band on the bottom, this part here had gotten twisted like that.
Oh.
So this, you can, let me see, this actually was through the middle. it was like this.
But the band was correct.
The band was correct. The sweater sleeve was completely inside out. So there was no way, absolutely no way I could fix this without...
That was the elves that did that. It must have been.
Oh my gosh. I sat there going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So I had to take out the 5 inches of ribbing at the bottom that I had knit and start it over again because you just can't wear a twisted sleeve. And now it is better. So
you could have started a fashion trend. This is a twisted sleeve sweater.
It just, it wouldn't have worked. I was so sad. But... So I can't wear it today, but I can wear it next time.
Awesome.
And like I said,
Can't wait.
it is going to be done by the end of August. So I guess my goal is ultimately made. So there's that.
Yeah, you can wear it all fall.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I just I love my sweater. It's not even finished yet. I guess that's a sign of a good project.
Yes.
And the last thing, I wanted to show you guys this. I found some waxed linen at a basket making shop my mother-in-law came across. And so I've been playing around with it and I made a little necklace.
That wax linen is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
And Sue, being the expert teacher that she is, has given me confidence to make little joins over here and not be afraid that it's going to fall apart.
Look at that.
So I made a little necklace.
It's really pretty.
And that's what I've been doing.
All right. We've been busy.
Yeah. It's been a little bit. It's been a little longer than I expected it to be between our last show and this one. So thanks for giving us a break, but we're glad you're back. I'm glad to be back.
We are, and we're going to be moving on to our DIY, which is embroidery today, which is a lot of fun. I'll show you a couple of stitches and a cute little stitch book that you can make.
Sounds like fun.
All right.
Be right back.
Stay tuned.
So I had a thought.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to throw out to everybody. I've been liking the community that we're starting to build within our Ravelry group and through some of the comments on the blog. And I thought I'd try to come up with a way that we can, talk more and build even some more community. And I know some of you are quite accomplished knitters, but then there are others like Sue who are still beginning. So in order to combine all of that together, I thought we could do a knit along. And basically what I was thinking is we could make squares, like Afghan square or a washcloth or a scarf square, something, that you could really do any of those things depending on the kind of yarn you choose.
So basically something simple.
Something very simple, yeah. And then we could do, I'll put up a pattern basically for each podcast. And then anybody who wants to join in and knit together and talk about questions or whatever, during the knit along, we can do that. We can all kind of work together. I kind of want to get feedback from you guys if you think this is something that's worth your time, if you'd like to join in. And then I thought it'd be kind of fun too. We've been having such fun picking out prizes for everybody. And I've been having a good time making new things now that I know how to bead. I can make some more stitch markers and stuff. But just a little something to say thanks for participating and draw a name from a hat at the end of the month for everybody who joins in.
I think it sounds like fun.
So
if you want to do it, then let us know through sticksandstonespodcast.wordpress.com or through our Ravelry group.
I'll put up a thread there and we can talk about it, and if it looks like we're getting some good feedback, then I'll start the link for next time.
Sounds great.
So
yeah, keep looking at our website for the new pattern so you can get started.
All right. So our DIY, today is embroidery, and Sue is an expert.
I don't know about that. I just like to do it.
Well, yeah, I was looking at this book that she brought out. This is cool.
It is a fun book. It's called Doodle Stitching, and it's by Amy Ray. I couldn't find her name.
It's got some neat stuff in it.
She's a website, and she has some really neat projects. I think she's done several books. This book is several years old. But it's worth getting because it has some really neat ideas. Plus it shows you how to transfer them onto fabric so that you can, using carbon paper, remember carbon paper?
Yeah.
That blue stuff that you get on your hands. And it shows you how to use carbon paper to transfer the design onto the fabric if you would like to. I usually freehand it and I just wing it.
Really pretty leaves.
Yeah, there's some really neat projects. Today we're going to talk about embroidery. And embroidery is basically using thread or embroidery floss or yarn to embellish something that you already have. So for example, we have these little animals are embroidered with different stitches. This one uses a French knot and a back stitch and a little bit of satin stitch and a running stitch on felt, and the same with the fish and the turtle. This is a knit hat that the blanket stitch is used to embellish the hat and sew on the felt pieces. And then we have this knit piece, which is employs a duplicate stitch to create this picture here. To do some basic embroidery, you need just a few tools. The main one you need is a scissors, because you have to be able to cut your thread or your embroidery floss. You also need a needle. The type of needle that you use depends on what kind of fabric you're going to be using. So if you're going to be doing a knit like this, you don't need anything that's pointy, because you can go right through the stitches here. If you're using a felt, you need something that has a point, because you need to be able to go through the fabric. A cotton like this, you need something else with a point. And also the size of your needle has a lot to do with the size of your thread. So if you're going to be using embroidery floss, you can split this to make really thin or very thick threads. If you use the 6-ply, you're going to get a thicker stitch than if you split it down to a 1-ply. You can basically embroider with almost anything you want. You do not have to go out and buy embroidery floss or yarn just to do it. You can embroider with twine if you wanted to, as long as your needle is big enough to make a hole and it will go through the eye, and so it can go through the fabric. You can use embroidery floss like this, which are pretty inexpensive at a craft store. You can use yarn on knits or anything else that you can find. All right, I'm going to show you some real basic stitches for embroidery, and I'm doing this on a piece of polyester felt with a piece of embroidery floss. The first stitch is called a straight stitch, or I also call it a running stitch, and basically you just bring your thread up through the fabric and you're just going to go in a straight line. You go down and you go back up and pull it through. You can go down and then come back up. I find it easier to go down and bring it right back up, and you stay in a straighter line. And so that's called a straight stitch, because you're just making a straight dotted line. The next stitch I'm going to show you is called a back stitch. And a back stitch connects everything. And so you bring your thread up and you bring your needle in the direction you're headed. You take it down into the fabric and you bring it back up where your thread came out. Actually, I brought it back up again. Ha 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 ha. Okay, now you're going to bring your thread back up in front of the direction you're going and down where the last stitch came through. And you can see that this creates a nice line of stitches in a row. Okay, and it's called a back stitch because you're actually sewing backwards. I could do this all day. But I guess you guys want to learn a new stitch. The next stitch I'm going to show you is called a French knot. And a French knot makes a little circle. And so you bring your thread up, you take your needle really close to your fabric, you wrap the thread around the needle twice, and then you hold on to the thread and bring your needle back down through the same spot and pull it tight. And you get this little bubble here. And these are fun if you're making flowers. These make the great center of, like, say, a sunflower. But you just bring it up, wrap your thread around your needle twice, take it back down through the thread, through the fabric, and pull it tight. And so you get these little dots. The other one I'm going to show you is called a blanket stitch. And a blanket stitch is usually used to connect two things together, or it's used on the edge as a decorative stitch. And so if I want to connect these two pieces of fabric together, what I'm going to do is bring my needle up through the fabric. And as you can see, I've knotted my thread. You can also leave an end and then weave it through at the end if you don't want any knots, because you want your work very flat. You take your needle through the fabric, both pieces. That's on my first stitch. Let me try this one more over here. On your next stitch, you're going to bring it through your 2 pieces of fabric, and instead of pulling it tight, you're now going to go through this loop that you made and then pull it tight. You go through your next space in the fabric, and then you go through this loop you made. And you'll see that it makes these little lines across. And this is a really common decorative stitch that is used to, like I said, connect 2 things, or it's used on the edges of something. I've never seen it in the middle of something, although I suppose you could use it wherever you'd like. Embroidery is one of those things that you can do anything you like with it. Most of the stitches have specific names, and I honestly looked them up before I did this DIY, because I just call them whatever I'd like to. And most of the time I just freehand it. You can transfer a pattern onto the piece of fabric to make a design. Most of the time I just kind of wing it. The last stitch I'm going to show you is called a satin stitch, and it kind of fills in a space. And so all you're doing is you're making stitches right next to each other to fill in a space. And I find this easiest to just bring your thread down and right back up, and you want to do nice neat stitches so that you fill in a little space to create a shape. And you can get bigger, you can get smaller. The neat thing about embroidery is you can do it on anything with just about any kind of thread or any kind of stringing material you have, and just make really neat designs. It's something fun to just experiment with.
Today I'm going to show you guys a little bit about duplicate stitch. Basically what this is mimicking the knit stitch instead of doing intarsia. When I try to do intarsia, typically I end up with holes or puckering because I pull too tightly across the second color. So instead what I do is I just knit the background all the way across, and then I embroider on top of it. So I'm going to show you guys how to make it look like a knit stitch without actually changing colors. I've done a couple here. The white thread is on top of the red, and you can see how it looks very much like I just added in a couple extra stitches. So what you do is you take your yarn and a tapestry needle, you figure out where you want to do the duplicate stitch, and you come up at the bottom of a V, whichever one you decide to start with. And then you just bring your yarn up through the fabric and follow the shape of the stitch. So I'm going to follow this top line, go under the bars of the V above, pull through, and then follow the second leg back down into the same hole I started. And that creates a stitch that looks like a knit, but is actually on top of your original stitch. It doesn't matter if you're going right, left, up, down, as long as you are consistent in coming up at the bottom of a V, going across, under the legs of the next stitch above, and then back down in that same hole. And you'll find when you block this that it lies nice and flat. Let me just pull that a little bit tighter. So now you can see we have the beginnings of a little square, all done in duplicate stitch right on top of the red, and yet you really can't tell that you didn't just knit those stitches.
Alright, so you've learned all these different stitches that we can do. An easy project to start with if you want to start embroidery is to make a needle face. Sort of like this one. Someone made this for me as a gift. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to start with 3 pieces of felt. Okay. Felt's the best because you cut it and then it doesn't fray. And so you don't have to hem it. And start with 1 big piece and 2 smaller pieces. The bigger piece will be your cover. And then put the other two pieces inside, and they're going to be folded in half. You can put as many pages as you want in this. I like 2 because otherwise it gets too thick and unwieldy. But this is a fun thing to just, I have one that's just with my embroidery thread, and then as you use needles, you can just stick them in here.
All right.
To keep them from flying all over the place.
That's a good idea.
But basically you're going to line up the pieces of felt on top of each other, the 2 smaller pieces, and then you're going to center them on the larger piece, and then stitch down the middle. And I have a knot in the end of my thread, and I'm going to bring it up behind these 2 pieces so the knot's hidden.
Okay. That's a good idea.
What you can do is you can fold this whole thing in half before you start to find the middle. And this is a very homemade piece, so if it's not centered properly, it doesn't matter, and it's your piece.
Yeah. You said it doesn't matter what stitch we use?
I'm just going to use a basic running stitch for this, or the straight stitch. Go down, come back up, go down, come back up. They just need to be attached
Okay.
to the other piece of felt. And so go down, come back up. And when you get to the other end, you can make a knot. Again, I'm going to make the knot between the pieces of felt so you can't see it. And basically then, there's your needle book.
Okay.
And then we're going to embroider stuff on the front. I think I might do flowers. I always embroider flowers.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. But you can embroider whatever you want on the front. And it's a fun little thing. It makes a really nice gift for someone who is a seamstress. So
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
yes. So I think that's about it for us today. Ta-da! We'll show you the results in a little bit when we're done embroidering all these. Thanks for joining Sticks and Stones.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.